If you've ever fed a flock of pigeons or seagulls, you probably recall how greedy and pushy these feathered friends can be. In fact, seagulls have been well documented snatching snacks straight out of tourists' hands, and pigeons are not shy about demanding their treats either. Get in a video posted in 2013 from Dutch Harbor, Alaska. A fisherman proves that bald eagles behave much better than their smaller avian brethren, as he tosses handful after handful of shrimp onto the deck, and the giant birds of prey gobble them up. Jesse Peck took the world by storm through one video. However, his act of bravery quickly turned into more than he could handle. Jesse encountered a flock of bald eagles one day. Whilst this is a beautiful blessing, there are also dangerous undertones to the scene. The bald eagle is not a meek and mild bird. It is one of the greatest birds of prey, something Jesse would soon discover. Jesse Peck is a fisherman owning a few boats. He was used to birds frequenting his deck from time to time. He often had tasty morsels of the day's catch lying around, but he had never encountered more than a handful of eagles at a time. However, one day an entire flock began to ominously land on and surround one of his boats. Jesse was completely taken aback, and when the birds closed in, he did something unimaginable. Jesse had been a fisherman for years. As such, he had grown accustomed to birds visiting his boat, but he had never seen so many eagles in one location before. He had easily counted about 20 birds perched across his boat. This was truly a sight to behold. Jesse was taken aback by how beautiful the creatures were, but this was not the first time man had appreciated the bald eagle. The first time led to the eagle becoming endangered. For many years, the bald eagle was hunted for sport. The majestic bird made for a great game trophy, and people were eager to get their hands on. As such, hunting season included the eagle, so much so the eagle's numbers began to decrease. However, that wasn't the only problem. The eagles were in danger for more reasons than one, and the second cause would see them rocketing to the endangered species list. The late 1800s saw the first real decline in the bald eagle species. You see, even though they were the national bird, people viewed them as pests. Bald eagles were notorious farm raiders, picking off chickens and other smaller livestock. Farmers quickly began to dislike the bird. As such, the hunter quickly became the hunted. The eagles began to dwindle as farmers shot them down one by one. Things were looking dire for the eagle. The eradication of the bald eagle continued for years. It was only in the 1940s that Congress stepped up to protect the bird. In 1940, the Bald Eagle Protection Act was passed. This made it illegal to hunt and kill the bird. With that, the eagle began to thrive once more, but that was only momentarily. Something more sinister than farmers began to encroach on the eagle's way of life. So technically, farmers were involved in the second cull of the eagle, but not directly. You see, in 1950, a pesticide known as DDT was released onto the market. This quickly became all the rage amidst fair, spraying their crops in hopes of yielding a better harvest. But this had dire consequences on the eagle. DDT began to infect the eagle's diet. As such, the bird once more began to die off until something incredible happened. Once again, a movement against the threat on the eagle was a drawn-out process. It was only in 1972 that a risky law was passed. The Environmental Protection Agency made a controversial call to ban the use of DDT within America. At the time, there were only a recorded 452 nesting pairs of bald eagles still in existence. However, the bird has struggled to repopulate since then, and Jesse Peck knew this. Walking towards his boat, Jesse was met with a staggering sight. An entire flock of bald eagles had descended upon his vessel. This took him back as he approached the birds. They did not seem to budge. They were totally unperturbed by his presence. Tentatively, Jesse gathered up a bucket of scraps for feeding. Slowly, the birds drew closer. This gave Jesse a fake lull of confidence, but then he decided to do something unthinkable. Suddenly, the birds became enthralled in Jesse. They realized that he had what they were after. It didn't take long for them to flock to the deck for their share of the scraps. Jesse realized he had entered into a feeding frenzy. However, he was not bothered by it. Amazingly, he seemed to be calm, confident even. But then his confidence became risky. Jesse took his life into his own hands through one action. Jesse fell into a false sense of calm. He believed the birds truly meant him no harm. However, this led him to become cocky. In one moment of misjudgment, Jesse did something wild. He held out a piece of fish in his hand toward an eagle. Whilst eagles have not been known to attack people, they are wild animals. One snap of the beak could easily tear through flesh, but Jesse decided to attempt fate. Unbelievably, the eagles refused to react to Jesse. Even though he held what they wanted in the palm of his hand, they did not budge. It would appear that their trust in humankind had been solidified through years of mistreatment. This took Jesse back, so he continued to merely throw the scraps to the birds. Remarkably, Jesse had filmed the entire event. One of his co-workers had luckily been present with a camera, and Jesse composed a video montage dedicated to the remarkable experience. However, when he posted this to YouTube, he did not expect the response that received. To date, the video has amassed millions of views. This just goes to show how many people respect and appreciate what he had done. Jesse's video managed to inspire people. He shed light onto the majesty of the bald eagle and showed how even one man can make a difference to the bird's survival. The comments left below his video were incredible. The Weather Channel even requested permission to share the video on their various social media platforms. All in all, the video inspired thousands of watchers. But what did it all mean for Jesse? Jesse continues to roam the oceans, and he plans on continuing to feed and bond with the eagles. This experience was truly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, one many would sacrifice to experience. But Jesse was lucky enough to enjoy the wonder of the eagles. For him, it was all in a day's work, just another day on an Alaskan fishing boat. But for the world, it was a moving, humbling gesture.